Did you get a bunch of candy? Did you get a bunch of candy, Jada Ray?
Yes, I did. Oh, this is one.
You told me.
Have you seen my Outer Banks hoodie? White says Outer Banks up here.
Boo! Boo! What are you gonna do? Go just have a sugar fit now?
No. I'm not eating any of my candy yet.
You're not going to?
I'm eating my Doritos.
We'll go find candy wrappers all behind your bed.
Maybe it's got some milk. Don't touch it. They gave us tacos. Are you live?
Yeah. Here, I was playing this movie though. You can't. They can't see you in that corner. Yeah, they can see you. Hi.
Hi, bye.
Who? I don't know. Well, I'm gonna watch this. The recent from DEADBUG says. Let's check it out.
For decades, the AmityVille horror has captivated audiences. A scary movie about a haunted house that forced a family to flee after a month. This film has inspired many people to seek out the real Long Island home behind the eerie tale. But often lost in the shuffle is the brutal crime that supposedly made the house haunted. The real-life horror story began on November 13th, 1974, when 23-year-old man named Ronald DeFeo Jr., known as Butch, shot his parents and his 4 younger siblings while they slept in their Amityville, New York home. In this film, we'll explore the events preceding those murders.
Amityville Murders.
New York City has been hit by tremendous increase in the cost of borrowing, in the unemployment, in the drop in revenues by reason of the recession.
People living in New York City are constantly being told that it is the dirtiest, noisiest, crummiest, most rat and crime-infested place in the country. And if those of us who live here had any brains, we would get out as soon as possible.
Prostitutes, drug addicts, and just plain squatters. All kinds of criminal activity go on here.
1970s New York City was a pus excreting open wound. A syphilitic portal, if you will, to nothingness.
Last year, nearly 11,000 serious crimes were reported here. 1 for every 15 residents. 4,000 people were assaulted, robbed, raped, or murdered.
I'm gonna kill some guy. I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna kill him.
With many feeling the only way to take take solace from this shithole was to move to the suburbs. And with it only being just over 30 minutes outside the city center, Amityville seemed like one of those tucked away locations for respite. And that's where the DeFeos chose to raise their family. A large Dutch colonial house in the center of Amityville would seem like an ideal location to raise a new family. And perhaps it was for a short while. Or maybe it was just a front. The family were hiding something. In 1974, Amityville's population was 97% white. The town's claim to fame was that Al Capone once resided there. Known as Huntington South until 1846. While in a general town meeting arguing about the location of the new post office, a farmer yelled out, "What this town needs is some amity," and Amityville was born.
He came, he opened the door and he was screaming, "Come on, help me, somebody shot my mother and father." Everyone ran out of the bar and that was it. They all took off. No, I had to stay, I was standing off. They all jumped in his car and took off.
Today, police combed the DeFeos' handsome three-story house for clues while divers explored the backyard swimming pool for the still unfound murder weapon. Police have been questioning the son Ronald and now say he is being, quote, safeguarded.
It was Wednesday, around 6:30 p.m., that Butch DeFeo ran into his local dive, screaming that his family had been shot. And although he didn't check for a heartbeat, he believed that they were all dead. It was then 2 vehicles of his friends went to the house, went inside, while Butch remained outside, distraught. His friends went from room to room. And sure enough, they'd all been shot. And they all were dead. The murders appeared to be execution style. To the back of the head with no struggle. Looked like a retard had been giving out haircuts with a chainsaw. And he'd been giving them good. The 2-for-1 special that appeared. The Vale claimed he'd returned from work around 6 p.m. The front door was locked. Climbed through a window to see if anyone were home. And they were home all right. I guess it was the worst kept secret in Amityville that Butch and Ron Sr. had an uneasy relationship. A car salesman made good working out of Brooklyn had hired his son, who rarely showed up to work. And there were whispers amongst the neighbors that he beat his wife, and if he got on his wrong side, things could get nasty, and there were even rumors that he was connected with the mob, being a cousin of Peter DeFeo, a capo and former hitman in the Genovese family. But Butch was also Peter's grandnephew, and people said, perhaps jealous people, that Big Ron's profits weren't all above board. But there were some things that weren't adding up for cops, like how come Butch had been left alive, and why'd no one hear any gunshots. They pulled the neighborhood, and not one person heard a thing. And when they started pushing Butch, there were inconsistencies in his story. And yeah, sure, I guess he had a right to be upset with his brothers and sisters and parents gone. But detectives figured that he was squeezing out a tear or two too many. Like a retard who just had his Mr. Microphone smashed up. Something wasn't adding up. It was a well-known fact that Butch had a fondness for the yay-ho, which could make him temperamental.
Police have been questioning the son Ronald and now say he is being, quote, safeguarded. Investigators say without explanation that they now feel young DeFeo was in the house at the time of the murders, but they're not yet considering him a suspect. And so
We
forth.
have no suspect at this time. We have no indication of the motive at this time.
Ronald DeFeo, the son, the surviving son?
Ronald is being safeguarded by the Suffolk County Police at this time.
Why safeguarded?
Why? Because there's 6 members of the family dead, and we don't know why, and he's the sole remaining member.
Is he also a suspect?
He's not a suspect at this time.
Few people in the neighborhood knew the family well, but those who did described them as close-knit.
I think they were just very sweet, very religious people, very family-minded people. That's about all I could say. Very good, very generous type. Very close to their children.
There's one element in the usual mass murder story which seems to be missing from this case. There's no sense of fear in this community. No feeling of a mass murderer on the loose. People we talked to seem to feel that whatever was the motive for this crime, it had something to do with the family. It's not something that's going to return to bother anyone.
And although cops were playing nice with the press, they didn't believe a goddamn word that Butcher told them. Yeah, sure, it looked like a mob hit. But they'd been across the bridge to talk to the cousin, you know, the mobster. And not only did he have an alibi tighter than the Velcro strap on a cripple's boot, but he was able to give some keen insight into the family dynamics. He said the only reason that Big Ron had any money was because his father-in-law had given it to him, because he didn't want anybody to know that his daughter had married a loser. He'd even bought them their house, and he was constantly pumping cash into their account because he didn't want his grandkids to live in poverty. And any so-called links to the mob were only rumors provocated by Big Ron trying to play the town tough guy. Sleazy car salesman who couldn't peddle a Pinto to a blind man. And for his money, if they were looking for someone who wanted to kill him, they already had him sitting in front of them. After 20 hours of being interrogated and a mountain of evidence against them, Butch DeFeo came clean. Cause cops had told him they'd found a rifle box in his room. And it didn't take him too long to find the rifle. The only thing left for him to tell them was why. And Butch told cops that he didn't know. But once he started, they couldn't stop. After drugging his family at dinner, they all went to bed. And at 3 a.m., he woke up, went to his parents' room, and gave him 2 bullets each to the back of the head. Moving to his sister's room, he gave them 1 each in the back. And then his brothers, including the leg mental. Cleaning himself up, he had a shit and took a bath. Went downstairs to wash his clothes, watched TV for a bit. Then he drove into Brooklyn to work to make an appearance. Then he hung out for the day with his friends, getting high.
When you wake from the memory of her shoulder, it's an honest mistake you fear. How'd you end up here? It's not that you do not love her for a reason. It's the music tonight. It is leading you astray. You're away. You and I, we were something for a reason. In the dark tonight,
driven away by an onslaught of tourists and pranksters who still continue to come and gawk, not fooled by the now changed address out in front. And why did you come by tonight to look at this house?
See what that book was all about and everything about the house. Where it looked, and all the things that people say about it.
Oh, we just wanted to see what it was like. I guess we just specifically came from Chicago to see it.
But do you believe all the stories?
Yeah, I do. They're kind of creepy. They gave me the creeps then.
Why do you believe it when the present owners say there's no truth to it at all? They've been living here for almost 2 years.
Oh, I didn't know they had present owners. I thought it was deserted.
A man who said he was a friend of the Cromedies also came by, but insisted he not be photographed. You say a friend of yours lives here and you've been in the house. Is there any truth to all these stories that it's haunted? There are weird smells and slime and all those other things?
Nothing at all. It's all a bunch of lies.
How do you feel about all these tourists coming by and the movie opening and all of this? What do you think of that?
Well, I live right down the road. It's
He said chicken wings.